Namaskar. Welcome to Conversations with Rakesh. Today I'm going to talk to you about my favorite movies. I think it's unfair to pick five favorite movies of mine because I have like hundreds of them. But I'll try and pick some of them based on certain qualities they have, which are very important for you. My love for movies actually was right from my childhood. I would wait for the Sundays on Doordarshan. Sundays you would get a Hindi movie in the evening, and in the afternoon you would get regional movies, and I would lap up both of them. And on Tuesdays, sometimes they would show these amazing English movies as well in the night, so I would watch them as well. But each of these movies left a very huge impression on my way of thinking. When I was in class 9th or 10th, and this was a time where you had like a VCR and you had to put a cassette and used to watch movies. And one of these movies was a famous Hindi movie made in 1971 called Anand. I think this movie changed my life. It completely changed the way I lived and thought and looked at everything. Because Anand was about a bizarre story that I thought all movies had a hero. The hero would beat up everyone, pick up the girl, get married, and all's well that ends well. Here is the exact opposite. The hero dies. And the movie actually starts with the hero coming in the picture with only 6 months to live. And I was amazed by that whole storyline. And the whole concept of this character looking at death and saying that, hey, I still have 6 months to live. Let me enjoy and do what I love most. I think is the best thing that happened to me when I was of that age. So it helped me realize and put things in perspective. And this movie is one of those finest performances of Amitabh Bachchan and Rajesh Khanna and so many other characters about family, friends, and also taught me how to make friends. Because one of the things I find missing in today's life is that we are making a lot of friends on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn, but this movie is about personal connections. And Anand always will be the movie I can watch again and again. Even now, when I watch Anand, the sentence that Baba Moshai, Zindagi badi honi chahiye, lambi nahi, I think rings a bell, and I am choked when I see that movie every time. So please watch Anand and make sure you don't have distractions because this will take time to sink in. The second movie is again a fantastic Hindi movie made by none other than Satyajit Ray. I think this was the only Hindi movie he made because all his other movies are Bengali movies, and I watched many of them. And this movie is a fascinating movie which takes you into Lucknow. And this is the era of 17th century where the Britishers are ruling India. The Nawabs of Awadh and Lucknow are in their own worlds. And it has this macro view of life and then a micro view of life. So the macro view of life is that the Britishers are planning to attack Awadh and Lucknow. There is a king. The king is completely incompetent. He's into arts and culture. So they are trying to have a conspiracy to come and take over. And in that city, there are two Nawabs, brilliantly portrayed by Sanjeev Kumar and Saeed Jafri. And they're rich people. They have lands and they have money, and it's all about Salika and Nazaria and all those beautiful things of life. And they're very, very sweet, nice people, but they have no clue what's happening in the world because they only love one thing, which is Shatranj. And they are chess players, and they're learning chess. And chess was founded in India. It was an Indian game that went all over the world. So the movie tries to bring in that micro view of chess and the love of chess by these two players, and the macro view, which is the world is changing. These two people are about to completely lose everything they have because the Britishers are going to take over, but they have no clue and they're only focused on chess. If you look at our lives, I think it's very similar. We are so focused on our jobs and careers, and sometimes we don't realize the macro view that hits us. I mean, COVID 19 is such a great example. It happened while all of us were busy in our lives. And when it happened, everything changed. So movies like Shatranjh Ke Khiladi are so well made, and Satyajit Ray and his amazing camera, his team, the music, the art, and the dialogues is mind blowing. So please watch Shatranjh Ke Khiladi. Here's a third one. This is a genre of movies from animation, and I have three kids, and I love to watch animations with them. And one of the best animation movies is called Inside Out. I think it was made in 2015, won some Oscars. Uh, the movie actually is complex, but the way they have made it for a child to understand is beautiful because it helps a child realize the importance of their emotions, something that many of us don't realize when we grow up. And emotions govern our thought process, they govern our thinking. So the movie is about five emotions in the mind of a girl, and the girl is growing. She was a small baby and now she's becoming a teenager. So imagine the changes in her body and in her mind. So the movie kind of talks about these five basic emotions, which is joy, disgust, fear, anger, and sadness, and tells the learners and the viewers that don't keep focusing on happiness all the time because it's impossible to happy all the time. I think the movie leaves an amazing message to all of us, especially me, that we have to also deal with sadness and fear and anger and disgust and manage them accordingly and realize that our life's choices are governed by emotions. And I think the more we understand ourselves, the better we'll become. And this movie is a brilliant animated version to help you realize your own thought processes, your own memory structures, long term, short term relationships, and decisions through the eyes of a 12-year-old. Third one, actually, fourth one, sorry. Fourth one is a movie that I and my son can watch morning, noon, and night. It is called The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, 2013. One of those gems of a movie that suddenly just sprung up from a person. And Ben Stiller is this person who's known for comic roles. He made this movie, which is such a surprise. And I and my son and my wife and our daughters, we went. We were unsure of it, but we loved it. First of all, it's a cinematic masterpiece. The locations and the camera and the strange way of making it very subtle. Like this movie kind of slows you down, and it leaves you with this amazing impression of travel, that okay, I went to some place and I felt good about it. And the story is about this person in New York who's totally zoned out in life, and he kind of goes into zones of fantasy, and in that there is a message of life because he works in a magazine called Life. So the movie kind of brings various things together, but my favorite scene of this movie is this symbolic scene, which is kind of combined with a song, and that song is called the Space Oddity. Amazing song. And this character, Walter Mitty, is in a dilemma that what do I do? Do I jump or do I stay where I am? And this song is playing, and the song has these words, ground control to Major Tom. And Major Tom is thinking, what do I do? That if I fly, it's a dangerous world out there. And this song is an amazing song that is a popular song sung by one of the famous pop stars, blended in this movie. And then finally, Walter Mitty decides that this is it. I have to jump and take a leap of faith. So he jumps, and his whole life changes for the better. And Walter Mitty is a cinematic masterpiece, leaves you feeling so hopeful and inspired to take the plunge that you all want to do. So please watch Secret Life of Walter Mitty, 2013. Here's one more. This one may shock you and surprise you, but I love this movie. This movie I watched in a plane. I was traveling to Tokyo, and I can't sleep when I am on long distance flights. I don't know how people sleep. I'm awake all the time. So whenever I've gone to Tokyo, which is about 9 to 10 hours, US, which is about 16 to 20 hours, I'm awake all the time. So what I do is I watch all the movies I can, and this was one of the movies. So I was watching on a small screen with my earphones, and the moment I started the movie, I was transported inside the movie. The movie is set in London. It has some 19 characters and stories that are connected with each other and on a common topic, that someone loves someone else. So, how do they deal with that? And it also is a story about attraction towards someone else, maybe extramarital affairs, maybe a concept that could be very scandalous, but again, connected towards love. So, there's a prime minister who has a crush for a girl in his office, an intern. There is a writer who has a crush for the person who comes and takes care of him. There is an ad professional who has a wife but has a crush on someone in his office. In the same office, there's a girl who has a crush for someone else but then has to take care of her brother. Then there are two, three friends who are very funny. And then there is a couple, they are working in a porn industry, they are porn stars, but then they have their own definition of love. And it is such a feel good movie. And the best part about the movie is it takes you to these questions of love and desires, but leaves you with this amazing thought process that, love can be tormenting. And there's a small child, and that small child has a crush on his classmate who's a very popular, famous girl, but has also lost her mother. And his father thinks that the poor son is depressed because he lost his mother, but the truth is that he's in love. And the father is like, I thought that you were depressed, that your mother is no more. But he's like, no, I'm depressed and I love my mother, but I'm also depressed because I'm in love with this girl. And that scene is such a delicate scene because the father realizes that we can feel these feelings in whatever situations we are in. And the father has a feeling for someone else. And there is a cameo role of Rowan Atkinson, Mr. Bean, one of my favorite people, and it is hilarious. So please watch Love Actually, because the movie has one message that all of us need love and all of us have love inbuilt in us, but we don't understand it and we make our lives miserable because of it. And the movie has this beautiful ending where everybody is coming to the London Heathrow airport and there's a arrivals gate. And all you see there is people hugging each other, loving each other, happy that they are together. And that's what the message is, that core of our existence is companionship, love, togetherness, and other complex emotions that come with it. So please watch Love Actually, amazing soundtrack, comical, hilarious movie, feel good movie. The next one is a beautiful 1993 classic by uh, the Merchant Ivory production house called Remains of the Day. And this is a movie which was based on a book by a famous author. And this movie is about a setting in a beautiful estate in the 1930s British countryside era. There is a lord who's hosting lots of noble people. So this is a movie that takes you to the class structures of the old world. So World War is happening. The Germans, French, and the Britishers and the Americans are coming together to do something about it. And this person, the Lord, in whose house this entire setting is done, will shape the future of the war. And it's a diplomatic meeting. But then the movie is not about diplomacy or world war. The movie is about the butler in that house. And he is shown as a person who is, again, oblivious to everything, but is serving his master. So it's about the contrast between the change of world, but also doing what is your job. And what a beautiful way of capturing lives and how they live and how they ran that household. So, how people would make food for 40 people and 40 noblemen above, and how those noblemen were in their own world. And the real world was very, very different. And it showed the class conflicts of that time. And what a brilliant find, what a brilliant movie. Transports you into this world and makes you feel a lot better. And the last movie is this amazing movie called Fiddler on the Roof. This is 1971, mind blowing movie. This movie is about a simple farmer who's always conflicted between the past and the present and the future. The traditions tell him to do something, but every day something happens and he's forced to relook at his own traditions. His daughters are finding boys that don't connect with the traditional way of thinking. But then he asks himself that, hey, what's more important to me, my daughters or tradition? So he changes himself every time to adapt to the new world. And it is set in the anti-Semitic era, World War, Jews, and still leaves you with the warmth of family traditions, good thinking, good human values. And actually, this movie has an amazing concept. I always wondered, why would you call this movie Fiddler on the Roof? And there's a reason behind that. If you look at the concept of a movie, a fiddler is a person playing a violin, and he's perched on a house's terrace, which is not a flat terrace. It's like a conical terrace. So you're standing on that terrace. It's a very dangerous place to be in because you might fall. So you're balancing yourself, and in that balance, you have to play the violin, and it has to sound sweet. If you look at the concept, our lives are like that. We are balanced on a dangerous situation. We have to balance family, career, hundreds of issues, and we still have to play a tune which sounds right to others. And it's a very symbolic notion of our lives that in that we should also find our own purpose, our own happiness, and find a way to live our lives better. Now, I have so many more movies. There is Purna, there is Aeronauts, there's Eddie the Eagle, there's Eye in the Sky, there's Three Idiots, there's Munna Bhai MBBS, Patch Adams, Good Will Hunting, Descendants, Up in the Air, Emilia, and A Day in the Neighborhood. I can go on and on. But my request to all of you is that look at movies with someone you enjoy with and talk about it. And then go to YouTube and look at videos on how they made the movie, what is the storyline, what is the main reason this movie is very good. And through that, ask yourself, what am I doing? And connect your own life with these things. And it will give you a lovely perspective. In fact, bring your movies into your communication, into your styles of talking, because people will love it and you will get your work done.